All right, let's talk about something every developer knows all too well. You spend all this time writing tests, and what happens? They turn into this brittle, tangled mess that breaks if you even look at it wrong. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down how to write unit tests that actually help you move faster instead of holding you back. I mean, this is the question, isn't it? It's just so frustrating. You're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to make the code better, and bam, your screen just lights up with a sea of red test failures. If that sounds familiar, don't worry, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to solve this. But first things first, before we can even get to the how to fix this, we've got to understand the why. What is the real, honest-to-goodness goal of writing a unit test? I bet it's not what you think. See, the number one goal isn't just about catching bugs today. It's about making sure your project can actually grow and evolve over months, even years, without slowing down to a crawl. Good tests are your best weapon against what they call software entropy, that natural tendency for code to get messier and more fragile with every single change. They're your safety net. And this right here, this is the money slide. A test that catches a bug on your machine today saves you from a problem that could be 10, maybe even 100 times more expensive to fix once it's out in the wild. So yeah, this isn't just about writing pretty code. It is about saving a ton of time and money. Okay, so with that goal locked in our minds, let's get back to basics. What does a good, solid unit test actually look like? If we're going to write better ones, we've got to understand the fundamental structure first. So a unit is just the tiniest testable piece of your application. Think of a single method. But the magic word here, the one you have to remember, is isolation. It's like baking a cake, right? You'd want to check your ingredients, the flour, the sugar, the eggs, individually before you mix them all together. That's what we're doing here. You're going to see this pattern everywhere in good testing. It's called AAA, arrange, act, assert. It's a super simple three-step dance. First, you arrange all your pieces, get everything set up just right. Then you act, you call that one method you're testing. And finally, you assert. You check that what happened is exactly what you expected to happen. It's simple, it's clean, and it's incredibly powerful. Now we get to the heart of this whole thing. If you remember one thing from this explainer, make it this. It's a blueprint for writing amazing tests, and it's got an easy-to-remember acronym, FIRST. These 5 principles are your roadmap to creating tests that are actually valuable. First up, F is for fast, and I mean really fast. Your whole test suite should run in seconds. Why? It's simple human nature. If tests are slow, developers just stop running them. A tool that's a pain to use is a tool that gathers dust. And the difference is night and day, right? Good tests are lightweight. They never, ever touch a real database or call a live API. A bad test is the one where you kick it off and then go grab a coffee. That 5-minute wait is an absolute productivity killer. Next up, I is for independent. Every single test has to be its own little universe. It needs to be able to run all by itself, or in any random order, without depending on some other test to have run before it. This is so important, because when a test fails, you need to know exactly why. If your tests depend on each other, one little failure can set off a whole chain reaction, like dominoes falling over, and good luck trying to find the real problem in that mess. R is for repeatable. This means your test has to give you the exact same result every single time you run it. Doesn't matter if it's Tuesday or Friday, on your machine or on a server. A test that passes sometimes and fails other times, we call that a flaky test. And honestly, it's worse than no test at all because it destroys trust. So how do you make them repeatable? You control everything. You eliminate all the variables. You don't call a real payment service. You use a fake one, a mock. You don't use today's date. You use a fixed date, like January 1st. That way, when a test fails, you know for sure that your code broke, not that the outside world just changed. S stands for self-validating. This just means the test has to know on its own if it passed or failed. There shouldn't be any room for interpretation or, heaven forbid, a manual check by a person. This one might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised. The test result has to be a simple Boolean, thumbs up or thumbs down. There are no maybes. It's this exact principle that makes things like continuous integration and automated deployments even possible. And last but not least, T is for timely. Tests need to be written at the right time, and the right time is either just before you write the production code or right alongside it, not weeks later as an afterthought.
Writing tests early doesn't just check your work, it actually makes you a better designer. It forces you to think about how to make your code more modular and decoupled right from the get-go, which makes it easier to maintain in the long run.
Okay, so those are the principles. That's the theory. But what does this actually look like when the rubber meets the road? Let's take a super quick peek at how a popular framework like JUnit helps us do this. In a framework like JUnit 5, you can see these principles built right in. You mark a method with @test, and then you have things like @before each and after each, which are perfect for making your tests independent by setting up a fresh environment for every single test and then tearing it down again. So let's bring this all home. We've talked about the why, the what, and the how. But what happens when we do all this? When we follow the first principles and write these clean, isolated tests, what's the real, tangible payoff for all this effort? Well, this isn't just a nice idea. We have the data to prove it. A study on a team at Microsoft found that after they adopted a standardized approach to unit testing, they saw a nearly 21% drop in defects. It took a little more time up front, sure, but the payoff in quality and fewer bugs hitting customers was absolutely massive. And that brings us right back to where we started. A great test suite is a safety net. It catches you when you make a mistake, protecting you from regressions. But it's also flexible. It doesn't break when you refactor. It lets you improve your code with confidence. So, the takeaway is this. Not all tests are created equal. A bad test is a liability. It costs you time and it slows you down. But a good test, one that follows these principles, that is a genuine asset. So the next time you sit down to write one, just ask yourself this. Am I building a safety net or am I creating just another liability?